Okay, so that's interesting. It is 11:55 at night, November 14th of 2019. Google and Amazon sent me a message the past 24 hours, both of them, saying that I would die of a heart attack or something if I eat pasta. That eating spinach rotini and wheat looks like soba noodles. Fettuccine, rotini and fettuccine. Anyways, would kill me. But honestly, it's kind of a warning. See, DARPA God, back when this stuff started in 2008, is when my back got shattered. And then I talked to Ruth, who was the operator at Putnam Community Medical Center. She's a wonderful woman. She told me about her Irish daughter getting her nose broken and how the insurance companies and people tried to target her daughter and cheat her out of her disability, or not disability, workers' comp. They tried to cheat her out of her workers' comp and cheat her out of her job and all sorts of stuff. She was being like abused by her employers, and I was like, oh, it's like the same thing happening to me. And she warned me like mysteriously, well, you have to make sure you walk every day, get outside and walk every day. And I've been unable to do that. DARPA God regularly just makes me spontaneously sleepy and has like complete control of like all the emotional reads and able to project emotions into people, not just onto people, but like in your skull, the radar. DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and deity. Both Thomas Jefferson and um, Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. No. See, that's DARPA God messing with my brain. I'm Mensa, one of the smart people here in the United States, and it was Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson who insisted that the spiritual leader of the United States be a mufti and not a Catholic nor a Protestant. They believed we were safest if the Al Quran was the religious advisor of the United States. And they said that the correct term is deity, not to use gods or quodes or geods, which is what God actually is geod. Persecution of any believing Christian or believing Al Quranist or Buddhist. Basically, persecution of all believers, of any belief. That's what God means. It's geod. The letter G, like the Free and Accepted Masons, hyphen, then OD, which is odd. Geod. It's a play on Arabic, and that their teachings are to persecute anybody who has faith or belief in any religion. Because they're a warrior cult, and they believe in warrior monks. If you check the York Rite, there are many, many subdivisions of the York Rite, and they're all dedicated to military actions against women, against athletes, and against historical books that don't profess an anti-faith belief system. It's I don't know. It's like their goal is to remove all faith and hope from society. They specifically teach Library of Science majors to pursue fiction and new fiction on the bookshelves, and to destroy the income of bookstores, which typically sell lots of fiction. So it's a strange thing. And so they get rid of the science and the history books, and I purchase books from the Friends of the Library, and I try and archive them. But like they threw out like all the history of China books from my library and everything like that because they wanted to put Harry Potter on the shelf. And it's a true story. Everybody wanted to put Harry Potter. It's She's probably writing fiction against her own race. I was told many years ago, like 2001 or thereabouts, when I was working at Books a Million. So it's 2001 to 2003 in that time frame. When I was working at Books A Million in Gainesville, Florida, and at the bookstore at Santa Fe Community College, I also worked there. Uh, Harry Potter books were coming out, like Sorcerer's Stone or some such. It was like the second Harry Potter book. And someone told me who was like an extreme fan that a ghostwriter was writing all the books after the first or second one. And she was just like editorial control or something. But somebody else was projecting secrets into those stories. And it scares me. It scares me. Authors should be authors, singers should be songwriters. And whoever writes the best song should be singing it. But the free and accepted Masons don't want that to happen. They, in creating the United States, the posterity signers thing, wanted to get rid of Samuel Huntington, the crop sharing farmer that became the first president of the Continental Congress and the first president of the United States when they created the Articles of Confederation. He wasn't the first president of the Continental Congress. John Hancock was the first president of the Continental Congress. Then 3 presidents later is Samuel Huntington, who then becomes the first president of the Articles of Confederation. Then 10 presidents later is George Washington. But he's the second one after the Constitution in 1787. He's then elected in 1789 to do a number 2 on all of society and history. Because the military goal is to destroy all authors. And so you have the posterity signers who are like, oh, this is going to be a great thing. We're going to have sex from behind on all the pretty women. And the second president of the United States is George Washington, who's like, well, I'm going to anally fuck all of you and your women. And that's where you get the Yale no means yes and yes means anal thing. Because there were people who knew and said yes to the Constitution. And then there's the military who's like, well, yes means anal, and we're going to fuck all of you in the ass because you said yes to the temptation we lured you into with killing and raping all the women on the continent. And so the military is actually fat people because a gun's way faster than any runner. I mean, who needs runners if you can point a gun at them and like do all the rapper video things? See, this is the military. All the military is a bunch of rappers. If you check the number 1 kind of music for military soldiers, you're going to find it's rap music. They love this stuff. This is like what they live for all the fucking time. Is the gun pointed at everybody's fucking heads. It's like, we were able to tempt you, so you're equal to us. And it's like some corrupt law student who was into that bait and switch kind of psychology. Where it's like, I was lying. I was testing you. So it's like, I just saw The Morning Show. And The Morning Show is an Apple TV program. Really fantastic. It really is. Just trying to get an insight into what is life really like for the people who are trapped behind a mirror. Like a one-way mirror. I think that's the correct term. One-way, two-way mirror? One-way mirror? Two-way mirror? One-way mirror? All I know is the mirror where they can see in and see you, but you can't see out. So it's like all the TV people are trapped in a mirror prison from Superman, the first movie. And the morning show attempts to reveal what's been going on behind the scenes. But it's kind of a mixed bag. Trying to be sympathetic to the stars on TV. They haven't done such a good job with being sympathetic. That they at least got across the point that it was consensual what was happening. My life isn't consensual. My heart health isn't consensual. Amazon, the Audible app, uploaded the October 3rd audio thing. I went to download today's news on the 14th of November, and instead it downloaded the 13th video, which I hadn't clicked on, from October at the top of my list as the newest audio, because you pull down the screen does a refresh, and at the top of the list is whatever the newest thing is. And at the top of the list was November 3rd, on top of all the November audio tracks for. Now, forgive me, I've forgotten which one that was, and if I click away, this video will stop recording. It was uh, either the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, and not the New York Times. But I think both of those loaded up because for the first time ever, it quayed and played them one after another. And it was the story about the heart problems of Sanders, Bernie Sanders, or Bernard Sanders is his real name. I don't want to say Bernie. I'd rather say Bernard. St. Bernard Sanders. Love it. So, anyways, St. Bernard Sanders and his heart problems on the third. It was kind of creepy, and like DARPA God's able to take control of my speaking and interrupt my thinking, and just like merge their things or overwrite whatever I'm doing, push my thoughts out of the way, and push in their wording and their emotions. And so it's really frustrating. I'm very certain it's a radar force, though it could become phased array under Wi-Fi, probably Wi-Fi too, but Wi-Fi would have to be phased array for it to happen. Anyways, it could become mobile phone towers underneath LTE-5. It's probably been around since 4, and the CDMA standard for the fast switching, trying to bend signals and magnetic fields and project a wave that does these things. So anyways, Google isn't trying to kill me. Amazon isn't trying to kill me. What happened is that DARPA God has been trying to kill me since 2008 with controlling my job, my behavior. And there were other things probably before then. 2007, working at Atlantic Micro Devices. Atlantic Micros, anyways. The point of sale devices here in Jacksonville. There was a Mormon girl. Was she really Mormon? Yeah, Mormon. She was 23, and she was really beautiful, just a really beautiful girl who went to work for AT&T later. And she would ask me to rape her or tell me, no, she would tell me her fantasies were to be raped outside. But she'd stay after work to talk just to me. She'd tell me about people gifting her dildos for her birthday because she's still a virgin, hasn't been with a man. And that, like, I'll say it, Matthew's Restaurant, because, it's just kind of strange. Matthew's Restaurant is a fantastic restaurant, a great place to eat. She does this, like, thing that's alluring or seductive to people, and maybe it's like that merge energy where, like, something just pushes and, like, controls her to suggest things that she doesn't really understand what she's suggesting to people. But it's not her, it's the military deity, Defense Intelligence Agency, with U.S. Army radar stations. And the Army would be ignorant to it because all they're doing is maintaining the machinery and being like A+ certified CompTIA computer technicians. And it's whoever writes the software and controls the software that is the radar echelon global grid terrorist network against all women athletes, because it's month, day, year, and wise people or intelligence of all the globe. I'm trying to get the FBI to switch back to the ISO standard of year, month, day. I mean, if you ever keep a file system on your computer and you have to do file names, you always put the year before you do the month and the day. Otherwise, the order gets jumbled up and one year runs into the next. And that's the reason supermajorities are so dangerous and critical, is that if you get 66% to be idiots, then everything just smashes into everything and overlaps, and the wisdom people have difficulty knowing what the right decision is, as long as you always put the month, the woman ovulation, ahead of the athletes and physical health and ahead of wisdom. So it's a terror cell in the United States trying to kill all of us via the mysteries of lying to us and saying George Washington is the first president when he's the second, there to anally fuck all the posterity signers of the Constitution.